The snow fell like whispers from the heavens, soft yet relentless, painting Moscow in shades of ghostly white. My boots sank into the slush as I stepped out of the terminal, clutching the single suitcase that held the remnants of my courage. I had never been outside the US before, yet here I was, halfway across the world, chasing a man who'd stopped answering my calls 3 months ago. Ethan, my husband. He'd told me he was working for a construction firm on a special project in Russia. Something about pipelines and security permits. At first, I believed him. The time zone difference, the missed calls, the sudden trips. But when the texts became fewer and his words turned colder, something in me broke. So I booked a flight. I told myself this was love, that I was fighting for my marriage. Moscow greeted me with a knife-edged wind and a city that felt too big, too sharp, too foreign. I tried calling Ethan again as I stood by the cab stand, my breath misting into nothing, straight to voicemail. By the time I found his address, a sleek apartment complex in the heart of the city, my hands were trembling from both cold and dread. The receptionist looked at me with polite confusion when I asked for him. Then her eyes softened with something that felt like pity. "Ethan Carter?" she repeated in accented English. "He doesn't live here anymore. He left 2 months ago with another woman." The words hit like a physical blow. I felt my throat tighten, my chest constrict. Do you know where he went?" She shook her head. "He was with a Russian girl. Rich family, I think. They went south, maybe to Sochi." I thanked her, though my voice barely worked. My heart didn't know whether to crack or rage. Outside, the snow was heavier, my phone battery died, my cab driver had already left. And the reality hit me. I was alone in a foreign country, chasing a ghost who didn't want to be found. I pulled my coat tighter and started walking. My tears stung as the wind slapped them away. Streetlights blurred into streaks of gold and ice. Somewhere behind me, laughter echoed. Men's voices, rough, slurred with vodka. I quickened my pace, but their footsteps followed. "Hey girl," one called in broken English. "Pretty American, yes?" My heart thudded. I turned a corner, desperate, clutching my purse. The street narrowed, and my boots slid on ice. One of them grabbed my sleeve, and I screamed. A car engine roared, headlights blazed. The men froze. The black military SUV stopped inches away. A man stepped out. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a long, dark coat, the kind of presence that could silence a room or an alley full of drunk men. His voice was deep, clipped, commanding in Russian. I couldn't understand the words, but I didn't need to. The men backed away, muttering curses before vanishing into the night. He turned toward me then, and I saw his face. Strong, chiseled features. A faint scar cutting through one brow. Steel gray eyes that caught the streetlight like polished metal. "Are you hurt?" His English carried the weight of command, each word precise. I shook my head, breathless. "No, I didn't know where to go." He glanced at the empty street, then back at me. "You shouldn't walk alone in this part of the city. Come, I'll take you somewhere safe." Normally, I would have refused, but there was something about him, something unshakable and steady in the midst of my chaos. I nodded. "Thank you." Inside his SUV, the heater hummed to life, thawing my frozen fingers. I dared to glance at him, the lines of discipline etched into his face. The silent aura of authority. He looked like someone born to command armies or protect strangers from danger. He caught my gaze in the reflection. "You came here alone?" "Yes," I admitted softly, "to find someone. My husband." His expression didn't change, but there was something sharp behind his calm eyes. "And did you find him?" My throat tightened. "No. He's gone." For a moment, the silence between us was almost reverent. Then he spoke, quietly but firmly. "Then you will not look for him tonight. You will rest." He pulled up in front of a gated military compound, snow crunching beneath the tires. Soldiers saluted as he passed. My confusion deepened. "Who are you?" I whispered. He opened my door, offering a hand that was strong and warm against mine. "General Viktor Sokolov." I froze. Even the name sounded dangerous. He led me inside, through marble halls and flickering lights, until we reached a private suite with a small fire blazing in the hearth. "Stay here for the night," he said simply. "You'll be safe." I hesitated. "I don't want to cause trouble." He looked at me, and for the first time, his sternness softened. "You already have enough of that." His hand brushed mine again. Accidental, maybe, but it sent a strange, electric calm through me. When he left, I stood by the fire, staring at the shadows dancing on the walls. I didn't know who this man really was, or why he'd helped me, but for the first time since I'd landed in Russia, I didn't feel afraid. And I didn't yet know that the man who'd just saved me, the man whose strength made my heart stumble, would turn out to be the father of the man who'd broken it. The woman slept restlessly. Even from the hallway, I could hear the faint shift of sheets, the echo of some dream she couldn't escape. I'd meant to leave her in the guest quarters and return to my paperwork. But something about the sight of her standing in that snow, shaking yet defiant, lingered like a ghost. Her passport, which she'd left on the table, gave her name, Claire Carter, an American, 28, married, Carter. The name cut through my chest like a blade drawn from memory. I'd heard it recently, months ago, during a terse conversation with my son, Ethan Carter Sokolov. He had changed his name after moving to the US, wanting to shed the weight of mine. He'd spoken of a young American wife, naive and adoring, who didn't understand ambition, and now she was here, in my house. Fate has a cruel sense of humor. I walked into my study, poured a glass of vodka, and stared out at the snow-blanketed training yard below. My men were patrolling, disciplined, efficient. It was easier to command soldiers than feelings. Yet the image of her, lost and trembling under that streetlight, kept piercing through the discipline I'd built over decades. When morning came, I found her in the kitchen, wearing one of the gray wool sweaters the housekeeper had given her. The oversized sleeves hung past her wrists. Her hair, damp from a shower, framed her face like sunlight breaking through fog. "Good morning, General," she said softly. The title from her lips sounded different, almost gentle. I inclined my head. "You slept?" She smiled faintly. "Tried to. The fire helped." I gestured toward the table. "Eat. You'll need strength." She obeyed politely, stirring her tea before looking up. "Thank you for rescuing me last night." I didn't get to say that properly. I nodded. "Moscow is not kind to the unprepared." Her gaze dropped. I was chasing something that wasn't worth finding. I wanted to tell her I knew that the man she'd risked her life for was the same one I'd lost faith in long ago. But I couldn't, not yet. So I asked instead, "Do you have anyone back home to call?" She shook her head. "No family left. Just whatever I thought Ethan was." The name froze the air between us. My chest tightened. She didn't notice. I thought he was different, kind, ambitious. But then he started disappearing, lying, sending money I didn't understand. Now I realize I didn't know him at all. I swallowed hard, hiding the flicker of guilt. My son had inherited my ambition, but none of my honor. "He's made mistakes," I said finally. She frowned. "You know him?" The lie came too easily. "I know of him." Her shoulders sagged, as if the fight had drained from her bones. "Then you probably know he's not the man I thought he was." I didn't answer. Later that day, she wandered the compound courtyard. The snow had eased, sunlight glinting off the steel gates. From my office window, I watched her run her fingers along the railings, her breath visible in the cold. She looked fragile yet unbroken, like porcelain that refused to crack. When she slipped on the ice, instinct made me move. I was beside her in seconds, steadying her by the waist. Her laughter, light, startled, brushed against my chest like a spark. I'm not used to this kind of winter, she said. Then you'll learn, I murmured, and her eyes met mine, green, bright, full of something dangerous and alive. In that instant, I felt the discipline I'd lived by for 40 years falter. Her POV. Days passed in strange quiet. Victor was often gone during daylight, commanding soldiers, overseeing operations, disappearing into the world of clipped Russian orders and salutes. But at night, the house became still, and sometimes I'd find him by the fire, a glass of vodka in hand, his profile carved by the flicker of flames. We spoke in fragments about places we'd traveled, books we liked, music that lingered in memory. Slowly, the fear I'd first felt turned into something else. Curiosity, then comfort. One evening, I found myself telling him about my childhood, growing up near Chicago, the snow that never seemed to melt, the way my mother used to sing. He listened without interrupting, his gray eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. And when I faltered, when I said Ethan's name, his jaw tightened. You don't have to speak of him, he said quietly. Not if it hurts. But I want to, I whispered. I want to let it go. He turned toward me then, the firelight painting gold across his face. Then let it burn here, in this room, and start again. Something inside me cracked open. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to say that, to give me permission to stop chasing pain. I reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. For a heartbeat, the world outside ceased to exist. No snow, no betrayals, no ghosts of a broken marriage, just the warmth of his skin against mine, the quiet thud of his pulse. When he finally did pull back, it was slow, deliberate. His voice was rough. You should rest. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the way he'd looked at me, not like a savior, but like a man wrestling with something forbidden. I knew I should send her away. Every law of discipline demanded it. But each day, she slipped deeper into my world, into the edges of my routine, into the corners of my mind. Her laughter filled the kitchen in the mornings. Her perfume lingered in the halls. And in the still hours of night, when I allowed myself weakness, I thought about her voice saying my name. Then came the day she found the photograph. I returned from a briefing to find her standing in my office, holding the frame that sat on my desk, a younger version of me in uniform. And beside me, a boy no older than 10. Her voice trembled. This is Ethan. The silence between us was colder than the Moscow snow. I set down my gloves slowly. Yes, her lips parted, disbelief giving way to hurt. He's your son? I met her eyes. No use in lies now. He was, until he became someone I no longer recognize. Her eyes glistened. All this time you knew? I suspected, I admitted, but I wanted to protect you from that truth until you were ready. She took a step back. You should have told me. Would you have stayed if I did? Her silence was the only answer I needed. She turned toward the door, but I reached out, fingers brushing her arm. Claire, wait. She froze, trembling not with fear but emotion. I didn't plan this, I said softly. But every day I spent near you, I forgot the man he was and saw only the woman he didn't deserve. Her breath hitched. This is wrong. I know, and yet, the space between us closed like gravity itself. When our lips met, it wasn't gentle, it was desperate, aching, inevitable. The kind of kiss that felt like confession and punishment all at once. Her POV, the kiss changed everything and nothing. After that night, the air between us grew charged, alive with something unspoken yet undeniable. Victor became more careful. His words clipped, his glances fleeting, as though restraint were the only armor he had left. But there were moments when the mask slipped, when his hand brushed mine, and neither of us moved away. When our eyes met and the silence said too much, I told myself it was impossible, wrong. And yet, every day I stayed. I found more of the man beneath the uniform, the one who made tea when I couldn't sleep, who mended the torn strap of my bag with soldierly precision, who treated me not as a fragile guest, but as someone he wanted to protect. And then one morning, the past came knocking. I was walking through the compound courtyard when I saw the convoy roll in. Sleek black cars, the kind that didn't belong to Victor's regiment. He was there to meet them, his shoulders squared, his voice cold as ice. And when the door of the lead car opened, my breath caught. Ethan. He looked almost the same. Expensive coat, arrogant smile, but thinner somehow, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion and guilt. "Claire," he said, disbelief turning to something sharper. "What the hell are you doing here?" I froze. "Looking for the man I married." I didn't realize he'd left me for good. His jaw clenched. "You shouldn't have come. You don't belong here." Before I could reply, Victor stepped between us, his voice like thunder. "Enough." Ethan turned to him, and the storm I'd feared broke loose. "So it's true. You took her in." "I protected her," Victor said. "From your mistakes." Ethan laughed bitterly. "My mistakes? You're one to talk. You left me when I needed you most. You chose your country over your family. And now you want to play savior." The words hit like gunfire. I saw the flicker of pain in Victor's eyes, buried beneath decades of control. "This isn't about me," he said quietly. "It's about the woman you abandoned." Ethan's gaze shifted to me, anger giving way to realization. "You told him?" I shook my head. He knew. The silence stretched, heavy, fragile. Then Ethan scoffed, the mask of arrogance cracking. "You think you can replace me, old man?" Victor didn't flinch. "You can't replace what you never valued." For a moment, no one breathed. Snow drifted between us, falling like the ashes of everything that had been broken. Then Ethan turned and walked away, muttering something in Russian that sounded like surrender. He never came back. Victor's POV. The weeks that followed were quiet, too quiet. My command duties resumed. The world expected me to move on as though nothing had changed. But inside, I was divided between